Welcome to Time to Teach with Tammy, the podcast that gives tips, advice, and suggestions to teachers by a real teacher. So sit back and enjoy. And oh yeah, don't forget to subscribe. And we're back. Welcome to episode 76 of Time to Teach. Today's episode is entitled, My Math Workshop Has Changed Again. And this is because it has changed again. If you have been following my math journey, and I guess I'll probably have to link where I've talked about my math workshop. This year, I just have a lot of very, very energetic students. And so I had to, kind of change the way I've been doing math workshop because it's the last hour of the day, which is typically when I teach math. I mean, that's been the same, I think, for as long as I've been teaching. It's always just like my last hour of the day. And so I kind of just discovered this year with all my energetic kiddos, the way that I used to teach math workshop just did not work for this group, So I had to change it up, and I was really enjoying it, but still had some things that I was a little bit concerned with and didn't totally love. And things I had to change it up again. So that is what I'm going to be discussing on today's episode. So if you are interested in hearing how I am now conducting math workshop, stay tuned, because that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, let me just kind of start by saying how I used to do my math workshop. I had it was very formulaic. I basically just followed the same thing probably for years and years and years and years, and it worked. It really, really worked. So I've had little tweaks, so I guess I can't say years and years and years. I'm always kind of changing up. But basically, I would open a math workshop with some kind of read aloud. This has been a new component within my math workshop time because I really want literacy to be a part of it and, a piece of what we're doing. So, so I would open up with a read aloud, and of course the read aloud would be some kind of book that is also math, right? So something that ties in with math, preferably a concept we are currently working on and or have recently worked on, although you can definitely spiral and include something that is not so recent, but that's just kind of the way I've been doing it. Then we would go into a math journal. Our math journal would be a warm-up, and usually I have students do 2 pages, and I would explain the 2 pages. They would all be working the same 2 pages, but then I would be pulling a group in the back while everyone else was working on the math journal. This I really liked because it allowed me to give extra support to students who are struggling with something or enrichment, whatever the case be. That was my time. So that was fantastic. I loved having that time to be able to reach learners who needed something a little bit different for whatever reason. After that, then we would all go to the carpet and I would teach the mini lesson. Okay, so there was the mini lesson component, and that was whole groups. I would teach to everyone. And then sometimes, so it kind of depended on what we needed to do. Sometimes there would be maybe a partner activity or an independent activity that kind of added on to whatever that mini lesson was, or sometimes not. Sometimes there wasn't anything else that the students necessarily need to do, and then we would do math centers for the remaining 20 minutes of the day. And the way I was doing math centers was that they would just rotate through the different activities, one a day. So group 1 does center A on Monday, let's just say, for example. Then Tuesday, we just kind of rotate down. Group 1 now does center B, and then until they've rotated through all the activities during the week. Then fast forward to this year, that just was not working for my kids. It was really the whole group time that I just was seeing my students melt on the carpet.
I did not have their attention. I just felt like they're not getting anything that I'm saying, even though I'm pretty good at keeping my lessons mini. It just was not working for my kiddos at all. So I kind of thought, well, what can I do? And I talked to some people. I already had some ideas because I'd been playing with the idea of changing it up just because I wanted to try something different, not because there was a need. At this point, now there was really a need. So it motivated me to figure out how else I could teach math. So I talked to another teacher on our team, got some ideas, and I decided, okay, math workshop, now I'm only going to teach in small groups. So that means I'm taking my mini lesson and I'm teaching the whole time in small groups. So there would be different centers. There would be Center A, which is a read aloud with my TA. Center B, which is Seesaw. If you're not familiar with the Seesaw app, I've talked about it before. I dedicated a whole episode to Seesaw, but I definitely think if Seesaw is not in your life, you need to get Seesaw in your life. You were missing out. Anyway, so there would be a Seesaw station. That was Station B. Station C, something new, of course, that I'm trying is like a maker space. So different challenges for students. I started out with Legos, and it would be like create a Lego creature, create a Lego boat. Right now we're kind of in a blocks where the challenge is to recreate a famous landmark, and so I'll kind of very briefly introduce the landmark, where it's located, challenge them, can you find it on the globe? And I'm not giving them any, really, there's no support there, just can you find it on the globe? And some students do, so it's kind of fun, and then they recreate the famous landmark. So that's really fun. And then Station D, which was teacher station, that was with me, and then that's when I teach. So there would be these 4 stations every day, and they would rotate through all 4 stations, which was good because I felt like there was a lot of movement on their part, which is really what I needed for them, because at that point they could not sit still. They could do math and enjoy it and get something out of it, and they're not closed off as long as they're not sitting on the carpet. They just could not sit on the carpet. That was like a waste of time. So I've done this now for many weeks, and I was, happy that they're not falling asleep, but then I was like, gee, the thing I'm not pleased about it is I lost that time where I could differentiate with my kids, because that's an important part I should put in here. I think if you're going to teach stations the way I did with the 4 rotations, it has to be mixed ability group. Otherwise, you're wasting time. You're just teaching the same lesson. And the reason why I've not been able to put my kids in mixed ability group is I just have too many kids who would be in the same groups who cannot function together in a group. They would be, rotating throughout the different stations, and they are not a good fit together. Like some might be, they may have the same kind of needs, and like some of them are my I have to say, very language learners. They're all English language learners, but I have a percentage of my class, probably a third of my class this year, who are foreign to Mexico. And so maybe started with super limited English and Spanish. So, I really like them to be in groups where there are students who can model what's supposed to be happening, because their language is so low. They really need that modeling and the support. So that's difficult for them to be in the same group together. And then others who, just because of behavior, whatever, they just cannot be in a group together. It would be, they would not be functioning well. So I think if you have your groups in mixed ability, and then so you can teach different concepts or different lessons that really differentiate, I think this format could definitely work. But because I'm not able to put them in different groups like that, I can't. I have them in, I'm basically They are mixed in terms of language and academics and behavior. They're not mixed based on what are my actual math learning goals that I need. That's the difference. So it really wasn't working. I felt like I was wasting time teaching the same lesson again and again and again, and never having space within my math workshop where I can pull a group and really work on extra support, work on extending, work on enrichment. So I've been struggling with that. Finally, I'm just kind of got to the point where I was at my breaking point and said, I just don't feel like this is an effective way to run math workshop. I don't. So I decided to switch it up yet again. And I kind of played with, well, hey, you know what? I'm calling this math workshop. Why don't I model this the way I do my other workshops? The way I do reading and writing workshop. Well, specifically reading workshop, where we do a component all together at the carpet, and then they're off, and then I can pull groups like the same way I do my other workshops. Why can't I make that work for this workshop? So now I can say I've had a good 2 weeks playing with this. Again, it's in its infancy. I can't say that I have figured it out yet, but I can say I'm on my way to working things out to improve my math workshop time for my students primarily, because I just feel like, while I don't think I'm hurting them, I think we know from Hattie's research, pretty much anything we do in the classroom is only going to help our students. But we know through his work that there are some things that are going to be more effective than others. And I really want to get to those things that seemingly are more effective. I use the words I feel a lot to describe what I'm seeing, but it's because it's based on observations, or maybe is based on hardcore data, but I just tend to say I feel like it's not working. But yeah, it's because of things that I'm seeing is why it's not just a feeling that manifested out of nowhere. It has a genesis. So let me kind of explain that. So basically now I'm opening up math workshop is basically carpet time, about 7-10 minutes of either like I'm trying to go into our new mini lesson so that I can get everyone acquainted with that, and then I send them off to choose a station. So that's different. I only have 2 rotations, but we still have 3 stations that they can choose from. So I'm teaching at the opening math workshop, then it's daily 3, rotation 1. So I changed the name of it. Oh, so fun. And they can choose between station A, which is their orange math folder station. It's either work that they haven't completed before, or a new thing that I'm adding to it. So practicing a skill, that could be in form of a worksheet, which I'm not a big fan of worksheets, or it could be in form of just practicing with manipulative, something that we recently did. This station has to be something we recently did. My students are 6-7 years old, and it's really can't be a new thing, because there's going to be a lot of modeling that's going to be required. So very few of them will be successful at that station if I'm adding a totally new piece. So new pieces not allowed in that station. And then so they can choose between that. Then there's station B, which continues to be Seesaw. So they're very familiar with this. And then station C, which continues to be their challenge of recreating a famous landmark. Now, station B and C are very popular. So I have to put some sort of regulations over there. They can only have station B Seesaw 5 to a station, because I have 6 iPads and I want 1 available so that if someone else wants to just take a Seesaw video or picture of their work, they have it open. So only 5 at a time. So not every kid is using Seesaw during that rotation or during that whole day of math workshop. And then station C, which is the recreating the landmark, we can have up to 6 in a station. 6 just seems like a good number. I feel like 7, it's becoming too crowded, too many hands going into those blocks, too many too much potential for accidents, accidentally knocking over landmarks, and then I get, Miss so-and-so destroyed my landmark. They don't use the word landmark. They think everything is intentional, and sometimes there's been a time, probably a couple, that it has been intentional, and we had to address that. But typically it's not intentional. They just think everything is intentional. Anyway, so teach 7 to 10 minutes. Then it's the first rotation, and I am typically pulling students who, okay, we really need to work on like right now we're working on place value, and I still have students who have not, like, they're still having difficulty. It's a handful at this point. It's about 5. So I pull them back, and I will reinforce, and then I go back to the carpet, and this is where I'm going to either also add to my teaching point, which was done in the first opening of Math Workshop, or if that one was a little more simpler and I'm like, hey, I kind of need to add on or enrich something else, then I'm going to do it at that time. And then we go to our second rotation, and then during that rotation I'm probably going to be pulling to really add on to the new teaching that I did, maybe not a concept that kids are struggling with. And that way I can really be deepening that concept, because really they're only getting 7 to 10 minutes. So they're getting, very limited exposure on the carpet. And then we kind of go back to the carpet after that second rotation, and we close. And then it's time to go. I just feel like there's more order involved in this way of doing my workshop as opposed to the way I was doing my math stations, where it was like at the end of a station, we didn't come together again at the carpet. It was stop, look, listen, become a frozen statue, put a bubble in your mouth. Group 1, now you're going to this station. Group 2, you're going to that station, da-da-da. And it just felt like there was a lot of chaos. I was starting to feel really frustrated with my math hour, and I just, was not pleased with it. So all of that frustration really, really led me to say, hey, it is time. I need to revise, revamp, redo all the re's that I can possibly come up with. But that's it, you guys. So that's the new way that I'm doing Math Workshop. We will see. I'm sure everything I do is always an evolution. I always feel like I'm changing things up, but I feel like that's healthy. You try something, it works, or it doesn't work, or in this case, it works for years and then it doesn't work. I don't know. We just have to, play with things until we can get them working, because at the end, our goal is always student learning while keeping us sane. I think that really does have to be a goal, as we have to keep our sanity as teachers. Okay, that's it, you guys. I am going to wrap it up because that's all I can do. All right, you guys, it is time for wins and fails segment of the week. I definitely think the win is obvious. It's having done this new Math Workshop style for the last, I almost said couple of weeks. That's a huge win. I'm feeling like it's more orderly, it's more calming. I am enjoying it. It's just so much better. It's giving me new life. I love it. I don't know what else to say. It's just absolutely great. In terms of fail for the week, I just don't know that there's any major fails. I wish I had one. Maybe I don't wish I had one. Or I just can't really think of one, so I'm just going to leave it at the win for the week and call it an afternoon, because it is literally not even the afternoon. It's still a morning and I'm recording. All right, that's it, you guys. Do you have something you'd like to add to the conversation? I would love to hear from you. As always, you can tweet to me. My Twitter handle is @TammyJ, TAMIJ123. Until next time.
Wait a minute. Wait 1 minute. Before you go, don't forget you can catch our show notes online at www.timetoteach.libsyn. That's libsyn.com. We're also on Facebook at Time to Teach. Don't forget to check out our Facebook group, Teachers for Effective Curriculum. And if you're an educator with your own podcast show, I invite you to join our brand new Facebook group, Teachers Who Podcast. Let's grow a community where we can network, problem solve, and discuss anything and everything podcast related. I'll see you there.